West Coast. My brother Jim is here. We've got family from Chicago, where we're all from. We also obviously have family here in Denver. But that's a small part of it, because there's CACCB, there is Denver Peace and Justice, there's Caminos, there's Bridge Group, God,
Book club.
Book clubs, and then there's Literary Sojourn, the Travelers.
Yes.
So many people, and then also old friends from the old neighborhood at 8th and Steel. There's just a lot of folks here whose lives were touched by Mom. Catherine, Greg, and I are going to kick it off. Then I know our girls are going to say a few. But Greg would like to kick it off. Greg wants to get this over with as fast as possible.
With her reader. Here we go.
Oh, it's hanging on that tree.
Mom, do I need a microphone? Mom, what an amazing life. Jane Parker Russell, born 1939. I arrived March 2nd, 1963. Every year on my birthday, we would talk, and she would tell me that I arrived early and that she couldn't take me home for 2 weeks. And how hard that was for her. She was fierce, and her love for her children, and then grandchildren, and then great-grandson knew no bounds. When my sister was little, one of my nicknames is Geggy. And when my sister was little, she couldn't pronounce the R. And Geggy it was. But Mom always called me Greg, or Gregory Marshall when I was in trouble. She was always there for me, and we have gone full circle. That's the truth. I love it when other people say that I'm just like her. We have all lost a dear, dear friend. Thank y'all for coming.
All right, I get to be next. I found it hard to find just one or two things to talk about, because I've known her for over 63 years. That is, I did the math, that's 23,000 days of memories. It's quite a few. And then, like, do you talk about her humanity, her sense of humor, her passion? So many things, but for me, there's one thing that I absolutely adored about my mom, and that was her courage. Man, she was not a big bottom, but man, she stood tall. She stood tall, and I'm sure everybody here has got an example. But I got two. The first one was when she was in her mid-30s. Up until that point, she had followed a very traditional path. You go to college, you get married right away, you have kids right away, and the next thing you know, you're a stay-at-home mom and you're in your mid-20s. And that was fine for a while, but fast forward to her mid-30s, and she had enough. She wanted more out of life, and so she had the courage to change her life. And it was hard. It was hard for all of us. But it was particularly hard for her because she had to find a new place to live. She had to find new friends. She had to find a job. She had no training for anything. But she had she had the stones to step out on her own, and she made it happen. She had a lot of lousy jobs. She went back to school. She finally connected with CACCB, and that kind of put her on the path to becoming a very independent woman. But it took us a long time to appreciate how hard that was for my mom to make that step. So hard. But only with wisdom, or only with age comes appreciation. But that was hard. Second thing, even crazier. She decides, in her early 50s, she decides she's going to move to Mexico and live at an orphanage in the middle of nowhere. What?
Her gap year.
Yeah, this is that kind of goes on her gap year. Her gap years. Big old gap in her life. Mom was in Mexico. What the hell? But then that wasn't crazy enough, so she decides that she's going to work with refugees in Chiapas, Guatemalan refugees, helping them go back to Guatemala safely. Now, I remember the term that they used for people like my mom at that stage. She was a human shield. Jesus! Talk about brass balls. She had them. But we didn't really have a good sense of her life during that time until she came to visit us once. The first time she came to visit us in Chicago. It took her 2 days to get to Chicago. Back of a flatbed truck, then it was a bus, then it was a train, then it was another bus to an airport. And she finally shows up at O'Hare, and we pick her up at the airport. And as she's walking out of the ladies' room at O'Hare, she walks up to me and grabs me by the arm. She was so excited. She said, "Russ, that's the nicest bathroom I've been in a long time." The bathroom at O'Hare. She was fun. But she taught us that you can change your life, that you can control your own destiny, and that you don't have to keep, at the age of 50, you don't have to keep doing the same damn thing you've been doing all your life. You can do something different. And that was the lesson that she taught to me, or that I was most impressed with. But what that all boils down to is she was an outstanding role model for my daughters. I've got 3 girls. They couldn't have asked for a better role model. She's fierce, sharp-witted, sharp-tongued, opinionated, and not shy about telling you what she thinks. We used to have great battles because we didn't connect on a lot of political issues, but she was willing to listen to me. Oh, and I was talking to somebody earlier. I don't think it's my crowning achievement, but it's up there. It was high. It's up there high. I convinced my mom to start reading the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal. And at first she laughed at me. First she said, "I'm not reading that drivel." But after a while, she was open-minded. She was very open-minded, but smart, whip-smart, opinionated, but also so sympathetic, so kind, so generous, but above all, independent. She stood on her own 2 feet all the time. All right, that's me. Catherine.
So,
Sorry.
I know, I'm gonna put my glasses on because I have to. So, just first off, it feels really good to be here at the Mulkery. So, a couple of us, our kids went to school across the street. We would do fundraisers here for a plant sale every year. And Mimi came to every single one of them. We would have to schlep flowers for a plant sale at a fun fair, and it would be terrible. And Mimi would be out there with us schlepping plants. She was just amazing. And so when she was here for the plant sale, she would just order truckloads of geraniums. And I just remember her backyard all summer long, if any of you had ever been there, would be full of blossoming geraniums. And we have geraniums here, so we're hoping that everybody will take one home. We also have lavender, and we'd love for you to have them throughout the summer, just as a memory of Mimi. So like Russ, when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about, I just got totally overwhelmed. I mean, how do you encapsulate her life in one speech? There's just no way. So I, like Russ, also was like, well, do I talk about her fearlessness? Glad I didn't, because Russ did. Her complete and unapologetic commitment to human rights. She just did not waver on that. Or her continual thirst for knowledge, or her love of the outdoors. She loved Colorado. She loved being outside. But what I kept coming back to were her relationships, and more importantly, her relationships with her grandchildren. I think, as both of them alluded to, you know, parent-child relationships can be really difficult. They can be complicated. But Mimi's relationships with her grandchildren were absolutely uncomplicated. They were simple. I don't know. Now that I need to read it, I don't know where I am. Simple, full of love and acceptance. And she was able to forge these relationships because of all of the forces that made her who she was. She never judged or criticized their decisions. Probably because she learned that every person needs to follow their own path in order to fully live the life that they were meant to. She accepted them fully and loved them each in their own right and never compared them. She was their biggest cheerleader. And Russ wrote in her obituary that she always softened their disappointments. And that's so touching to me because she did. I mean, she was who they and I called when things didn't go our way. She had a perspective from a full life that she lived that could make even the worst of our days seem not so bad. And as I look around, I'm sure many of you feel the same. She was a fierce friend. She checked in, she listened, she cheered us on, and she softened our disappointments. I, of course, will miss Mimi tremendously. I find myself with a catch in my heart many times a day when I see beautiful old art that belongs in her house. When I got my ballot in the mail yesterday, I realized that I was going to actually have to do some research instead of relying on what she votes for. And when Eli had his first performance that Mimi didn't attend. I'm sure that those catches will continue, but hopefully they also will soften with time and become wonderful daily reminders of what an amazing person she was. Amen.
Ladies, Emma and Christine Covode and Becca Barrett.
Yeah.
Bennett, you want to stand up here with us? With Eli? Bennett, Eli, want to stand up here with us? The grandkids? Come on, stand. I need you to hold me before I fall.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I'm not even speaking yet. In a different pocket of time, we're waking up in your house, under the purple comforter, with Zoe and my sisters in the next room. Zoe is the first to wake, stretching and pawing. You're next with a soft, as you gently roll out of bed and onto the blue carpet. I hear the stairs creak as you go down them. I know you'll warm up the carafe first so the coffee stays warm. Then the cardamom and coffee beans, then the papers from outside, the key back on the windowsill, and then back upstairs under the comforter where we haven't started. You're whispering morning words to Zoe, and I'm pretending to be asleep so I can keep listening. The turn of your pages brings in the soft morning light through the shades, onto your wicker chair and your white dresser with years worth of photos and jewelry and things you've gathered from all of your adventures. I hear your breathing and sipping and sing softly. Hello, sweetheart. When I finally wake up and open my eyes, you're there. The face of someone who loves you, who knows you, who sees you, who's happy you're there. In this pocket of time, the coffee doesn't get cold. We don't have to get out of bed. Zoe is still purring, and I can come back here to this memory to see you again.
Hey guys. Woo! It's impossible. Hey everybody, I'm Christine. I'm one of Mimi's granddaughters. I can't do it.
Come on,
Whew. I'm wearing one of her rings. I haven't taken it off since I saw her in our last couple days in Denver. It reminds me of her visit to NYC, New York City in 2018, when a group of us sat and had morning coffee in the funkiest Airbnb we've ever been in, if you guys remember it. Her hand graced the side of a mug, this ring effortlessly complementing her jewel-like spirit. I've always found that grandparents have so much magic in them that as a grandkid I feel like I can't always grasp. Mimi had this river of knowledge and wisdom and beauty and intelligence I could always see from the edge, but I could never get my feet fully wet. I think being young, you're so focused on yourself. Me especially. Apparently when Mimi walked me to elementary school, I would tell her to walk behind me so people wouldn't see me with my old grandma. Ew, get away. We went to Costa Rica together, and instead of asking her any questions, I just swam in a pool, diving for shells that I would throw. I would call these shells my 3 best friends. Having grown older since these years, I got closer to Mimi. The more I stopped paying attention to myself, the more I could tune into her frequency. I was able to make her laugh. And there's nothing like the sound of her laugh, am I right? Sometimes when I could close my eyes, I can hear it. She would beat me in Scrabble, of course. She'd rub my feet, and we would play Wordle quietly. She came to my shows, and I walked her into her 80th surprise party, hand in hand. If you don't know about that party, I am shocked she didn't tell you about it. She would tell a brick wall about that party. We got closer. She could tell me stories about her life, and I would be awestruck at the sheer power she harnessed. Who is this woman, and why am I just getting to know her now? We would lay in hammocks, talk on the phone on Sundays. The day we both knew was the worst day. She always felt the Sunday scaries like I did. Mimi left us on a Sunday. I always thought that was interesting. I came close to her, never all the way. To truly know her, that would have been something. But maybe that's the true magic of grandparents. Maybe we aren't supposed to know them fully, we just get the good stuff. But still, I will always wish I was her best friend. I wish I knew her like the closest person in her life did. I was diving for my best friends in the pool in Costa Rica, not knowing I was already hanging out with them. I bet she's already famous in heaven. I bet she's walking me to school, this time right by my side, her and me. I bet she's standing up here right now, arm around my waist, because she too doesn't want her time together to be up. We weren't finished, Mimi and I, but that's okay. I might not have been Mimi's bestie, but I'll wear her ring around my finger like a friendship bracelet, forever on my hand, with her matching one sparkling bright on the strongest hand I've ever held. I love you, Mimi. I hope you hear this wherever you are.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, now we need to go back down. Kristen's the tallest. I'm Becca, and I'm Mimi's oldest granddaughter. I'm so sad that she's gone, but I feel so incredibly lucky to be here with all of you celebrating her beautiful life. Everyone knows that Mimi was just a true gift. Oh, we call her Mimi, by the way, obviously. Mimi was a true gift. Not many people get 32 years with a grandparent at all, but hardly anyone gets a grandparent like Mimi. Being her granddaughter was just magical. Even though we lived in Chicago and she in Denver, we were incredibly close. With frequent visits, countless laughs, and lots of outdoorsy trips. When we were not together, there were plenty of phone calls, birthday cards filled with confetti, and later many texts with all of her favorite emojis, usually all of them all together. And despite spending over 3 decades together, I wasn't ready to say goodbye. Luckily, I was able to spend a week with her right before she passed away and got to say goodbye and more. I got to introduce her to her my newborn son, her great-grandson, Gavin, who's here today, but crying in the back. We got to play peekaboo, we snuggled, and we had good chats like we always do. At one point during the week, she said to me with a big smile on her face, "You know, I've been thinking about how when I get to heaven, I'll finally be reunited with all of my pets." And this, of course, made me teary-eyed, but made me smile. If you know Mimi, you know she's a huge animal lover and adored many pets throughout her life. This vision of heaven seemed to give her great comfort, and it comforted me to know that she was looking forward to this reunion. But it got me thinking about all the different heavens that there might be for Mimi, because she loves so many different things. So, to celebrate her life, I'd like to share with you my wish for Mimi of 27 different heavens. Don't worry, it will be fast. I know it's hot in here. The first is the heaven that you dreamed of, Mimi, with all your dogs and cats wagging their tails excitedly for you, waiting at the gates. Zach and Zeke and Matt and Max and Tibby and Duncan and Lucky and Sebastian and Zoe and probably so many that I can't even name. But also, I wish for you a salt heaven, Mimi, full of pita chips, potato chips, and where the food is perfectly salted so you don't have to carry around a bag of salt in your purse anymore. I wish for you a heaven where you can just lounge in your favorite orange chair, completely gripped by the book that you're reading, with a cat happily snuggled in your lap. I wish for you the heaven of a hot summer night, perched on your back porch with a vodka tonic in hand. I wish for you a heaven that is so perfect that you don't have to protest against anything. Even though you love to stand up against all sorts of injustices, big and small. I wish for you a heaven full of Greg's Egg Benedict, Catherine's quilts, and my dad DJing all the best songs on an endless loop. Okay. I wish for you a heaven full of hikes through mountains that take your breath away with plenty of wildflowers along the way, complete with that amazing feeling when you finally make it back to the car and you can take your boots and your socks off. I know you love that. I wish for you a heaven of Bennett's jazz concerts, Emma's art exhibits, Eli's plays, and Christine's comedy shows. I wish for you a heaven of all electric cars and nothing but NPR on the radio. I wish for you a heaven full of camping in the woods and the pop-up, complete with a headlamp that never runs out of battery. Or maybe a heaven that's just completely outside. Everything in nature all the time, no need for indoors. Would you like that? I'd wish for you a heaven with long games of Scrabble, where you eke out the wind right at the end with the perfect 2-letter word that nobody has ever figured out, and you rub it in our face. I wish for you a heaven of unlimited Honey Nut Cheerios with banana slices in the morning. I wish for you a heaven full of the sound of your great-grandbaby's giggles. A heaven where you speak entirely in Spanish, a heaven of great sleep and rest, the softest nightgowns you ever felt, where each night is a fantastic night of sleep with the window open and a nice breeze just like you like. I wish for you a heaven full of lively conversation and debate, but one where you don't have to stress over who will be our next president. I wish for you a heaven of perfectly cold and crisp Diet Coke and unlimited movie theater popcorn with extra salt, of course. I wish you a heaven with plenty of rain in Denver, because like you always said, man, do we need it. I wish for you a heaven full of bike rides along Cherry Creek for miles and miles where you never get tired and your tires never get flat. I wish for you a heaven full of great New Yorker articles, but maybe with larger print and unlimited time to get through all of them. I wish for you a heaven full of games, crossword puzzles and Wordle, gin, spades, Ticket to Ride, a stellar bridge partner where you win most of the time, but not always because you think that was boring. I wish you a heaven full of amazing friends, but it's really hard to top the ones that you have here. I wish you a heaven of Angelo's Pizza, hot dogs, pozole from the place that you and Gretchen always go, Skip's hamburgers, potbelly sandwiches, and chocolate malts. I wish for you another heaven with afternoon naps with your granddaughters after a full day of activities. I wish for you a heaven where you're reunited with all of your loved ones who have gone before you. And selfishly and lastly, a heaven many, many years from now where we get to meet again. You know, in reality, Mimi really created her own heaven on earth here by doing all of these things. And thank you, Mimi, for including us along the way. I love you and I already miss you dearly.
Hi, my name is Eli Miller. I am the youngest grandson for Mimi. God, where do I even begin with her? I mean, from the very moment that I was born, she was there for support. When I was in elementary school and I needed to be driven to my rehearsals for all my shows, she was always the first one to offer to give me a ride. And all the days that we would have sleepovers over at her house, I'm pretty sure it was like every Wednesday, me and my brother would like just wrestle in the backyard, and we would ask her to film it because we thought it was the coolest thing in the entire world. And it looked so lame. There's videos of it, but no, but even then, I didn't realize how much I should have been cherishing that time with her. And up until recently, I didn't realize that there's so much more to her than I ever knew. Like, I only very recently found out how much of an activist she was for everything about her traveling to Guatemala. But I think the one memory that I do have with her that I truly cherish to this day is my trip to Costa Rica with her. We spent, pretty sure it was around a week over in Costa Rica with a tour guide. It's just the best time ever. Like, I made some really good friends over there. And she welcomed everybody with open arms into her household, no matter who you were. Sorry. She was just a very loving person. The only thing that I can think of when I think of her is love. And I don't think that there's a single person that would say that they didn't feel loved by her. And I've heard so much about how she talks about me and my brother and all my other cousins all the time, so I'm sure all of you already know that, but yeah, I strive to be the exact kind of person that she is, to welcome people with open arms and to be accepting and loving no matter who you are. Thank you.
Hello everybody, I'm Bennett. I'm her oldest grandson. I wasn't gonna speak today because there's no way to put into words my relationship with my grandma, Mimi, but I figured I should say something. She was always a pillar of hope and strength and love, and my biggest supporter Actually, my favorite story of her is she found over COVID, because I'm a drummer and I'm studying music, so that's kind of what I want to do. Over COVID, she was reading the newspaper like she does every morning. She found an advertisement for a youth jazz band, an all-star band, and convinced me to try out. I made it in, loved it. Over COVID, I had kind of stopped playing the drums as much as I had been, and so it reignited that spark in music that I had, and it kind of set me on the path I'm on today. So with that, I just want to thank her for that, and she'll always be with me, and I'm doing it for her always. Thank you.
We'd love to offer the microphone to anybody else who would like to make a comment or two. No obligation, but if you'd like to, the mic is open.
Okay, I'm not going to be shy.
Go for it.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Zuniga. I'm the director of the Gender Justice and Peace Committee, and we have a full body of people here that travel and experience the world with Jane. Unfortunately, I was not part of that, but I have learned so much today from all of you, from the generous contributions that everyone has sent. Thank you for including the DJPC as part of her memorial. I'm sure all of you will have more words to share once abrimos el cuarto para hablar. We open the room to speak, which is what Jane tried to do with all her coming of ages during her life. As a mother, as a women activist, as a person that just cared for everything that came in front of her. I learned more from her through Catherine Rodriguez, La Vieja, and all these people here that are sharing with us. We did send some words through our email list that some of you have read, that Lynn Holland, who is on our board, generously shared. The website will have an editorial contributions to from Harriet that some little tweaks on the wording, and actually made contributions like her developing the Caminos project or program in DJPC, her being the first person that came together and brought us in the Salon series to discuss about what was going on in the world in Latin America. And I'm going to stop there with my words, and I have been asked for another person that was not able to join us because he is not in Colorado. His name is Tommy Tim. And let me pull up the message. I'm a 50-year-old plus person, so I'm still learning how to read speech off my phone. Bear with me. At this moment, I actually would like all of you from DJPC that are here with us to stand up and join me in this, and then if you have something else to add, obviously you will. And also, some of you are very, very several decades friends of ours, so we will, you've seen the pictures, they're amazing. Whoever did that curation did a great job. And now I can't find Tommy's message because I sent a message about 6 o'clock is the time when we're going to start speaking. Right here. Okay. Hello, friends and family of Jane. My name is Connie Tim. Jane was such an important friend because she helped to open my eyes to the deeper and more profound realities of this world. Even though I was a participant in the YMCA buildings from Brotherhood Work Camp in Lima, Peru, during college, traveled to major cities in South America, lived and worked in Quito, Ecuador, as a student World Service worker with the Ecuadorian YMCA just out of college, and visited the capitals of most countries in South America, I was naive about what had and was occurring in these cities beyond a tourist superficial view. During my working years, I glimpsed bits of news about what was happening to indigenous Mayans in Guatemala. In what I later learned the United Nations called a war of genocide by the Guatemalan government and military against the Mayan people. It was hard to believe it could be true. Why, I wondered. Most Americans didn't believe it could be true because Ronald Reagan said there were government just justified in rooting out those terrorists. And Americans believed him. Well, the peace accords were signed in 1996, and shortly after, I got an invitation to attend a gathering at Jane's home, asking us to join together to respond to a request from exiled Mayan villages in terror. They would still be persecuted when they returned to their homes. Largely because of Jane and Susan Cotton's experience with Witness for Peace, we in the Denver Justice and Peace Committee, known as the DJPC, like other human rights organizations in Europe and the US, agreed to provide human rights accompaniment, the human shield that you were talking about, to the communities of population in resistance, the CPRs, the community in El Tesorito. We called ourselves Caminos, a committee of the Denver Justice and Peace Committee. For 12 years, we all became close as we worked to recruit, train, and support these human rights shields until El Tesoro felt safe enough for us to leave. Though this work and a few visits to Guatemala, through this work and a few visits to Guatemala, I came to see what happens to indigenous peoples under the rule of European conquerors. I was seeing a microcosm of what happens all over the world. Jane and I became close through these experiences. I had eventually come to live in the Mayan Tuhil community of Santiago in Lake Atitlán until my kidneys doctor said I could no longer stay. I'm grateful to you, Jane, for playing a role in opening my eyes and for growing friendship over the years. What a wonderful and special life you lived. Tommy, now in Cincinnati, working for immigrant rights.
Thank you very much, that was very moving. Anybody else, or we can shut it down and go back to the bar? Okay, thank you, everybody. It's really very special that you came to spend the evening with us. Thank you very much.